Patrick is based in Switzerland. He is the head of UCN. He will explain what is it in detail and also what he has done in ESSEC. Patrick, thank you very much for being with us this week, because I know that you were connected to the conference, so you were with us all the time. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for your involvement. And now I give you the floor to express what you've done the last decade and what you've done and why you've done that, and to what extent it resonates or it make an echo, it ring a bell actually to our week. Thank you, Patrick, for being with us.
Thank you, Xavier. Just a small correction on the introduction. I'm not head of IUCN. I'm head of the Global Program Operations Unit, which is a bit slightly different. But greetings to all of you online. Thank you for inviting me to take part in this year's edition. I hope you had a fantastic week. I myself really enjoyed the different conferences. I think we had a very interesting panel of very diverse type of speakers. So I thought it was very interesting, very diverse, very insightful. I must admit, when Xavier Pavie reached out to me to ask me if I would be favorable to the idea of being patron of this year's edition of the Imagination Week, I was rather surprised. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the week, very honored at the same time. So I'll take this responsibility very seriously. And if any one of you wants to reach out to me in the future, please don't hesitate, especially if you're thinking of having and building a career in the nonprofit sector, or more generally speaking, in the social impact sector. So I guess 25 years after my graduation from ESSEC Grande École, I guess it's time to reflect a bit and share what my experience has been since then. So the objective of my talk will be a simple personal experience sharing, and I'll do my best to try and conceptualize a few key ideas of how my decision process matured over time. And I hope these key ideas and values will help you grow in your professional lives as well. And perhaps in 2050, one of you will have the opportunity to share back with students then. So as Xavier mentioned, I'm working today for IUCN, which is in the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. And I'm leading a group of project finance professionals, which are based out of Switzerland, the US, and Spain. Actually Malaga, which is a great working environment. I have therefore specialized in senior finance positions in support to programs which are led by conservationists and people who are much more expert than myself in the environmental field. So my talk will not be about climate change and about the urgency to protect biodiversity, but rather about my personal evolution and choices, which has led me to dedicate myself professionally to this field. So why me? I mean, that was the first question that actually came to my mind when Xavier reached out to me. Why me? I had been a rather low profile type of student at ESSEC, although it was a great stimulating academic learning time with great friendships being made, kept throughout the year still today. So why me? And as I considered this question, it actually became clear to me that ESSEC is and still remains a door open for multiple opportunities, even for me 25 years later. And taken through that angle, ESSEC today is an opportunity as a community for me as alumni, by simply reaching out to me in order to offer me the possibility to give back with this simple experience sharing and becoming patron of this year's edition of the seminar. So early on at ESSEC, I had dreamt of a purposeful life and a mission-driven career, but it was miles away from my own background and experience. I did have a small experience as a head of mission in Lebanon. It was actually in Beirut during a short internship between my second and third year. That was back in 95, but that was basically it. Back then, it had been rather difficult for me to project myself 25 years from then and to imagine the path I would be taken. However, I did nurture early on the dream of having a purposeful career, and that was a seed planted in the midst of my student years. And I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what you'll be doing in 25 years from now. And all of you are probably having or hoping to have a purposeful career as well, especially in these challenging and turbulent times we're going through. So as you know, as you will someday certainly find out, life is never written in straight lines. After my graduation from ESSEC, I did my French military service, began a career in an international audit firm in Paris. And in my case, it was a way of not really choosing a career path. And after the audit, I moved on to the recruitment field in a headhunting agency, still in Paris, and finally back to financial controlling in some large multinational headquarters in Switzerland. But I was still looking for my path. I was thirsty and hungry for something meaningful. Moreover, I felt I didn't really fit in anywhere, or at least not in any conventional type of career path. What was missing for me was a clear sense of purpose, or in other words, the answer to the big question, the why. And several years passed on like this. Back in 2004, after a long period of difficulties and while being unemployed, I joined an unemployment state program in Switzerland that was helping skilled professionals join the nonprofit sector and international organizations. And I'm actually extremely grateful for what happened then, because I was extremely grateful for the support and the help. Because remember that no one ever succeeds alone. And that was a silver lining. After years of doubt, fragility, following my first few years of professional life, I began my career switch in the nonprofit sector with the opportunity to join a small social finance institution, which at the time was called International Guarantee Fund. And this short experience was then followed by joining WWF International in 2005. WWF International is the global headquarters of the WWF network. And that was actually a dream become reality, which started in the context of difficulties and joblessness. I started in a low-key position, gradually grew step by step with hard work, remaining grateful. And I learned back then that in every darkness lies a silver lining. Even in this pandemic context, when all of you are studying remotely and will be looking for jobs in a few years, and hopefully, and I really wish it for all of you, have meaningful careers, one must learn to develop this optimism by identifying and recognizing your silver lining in any difficult times. And most importantly, having recognized this silver lining, it's important to stay and remain grateful and resilient in all circumstances. When I reflect about those times, a general idea shines throughout: the strengths of fragility and of opening up. In other words, ifata, which is the Aramean word for open up. Had my career been written in straight lines after ESSEC, I would have probably ended in a more conventional type of career in a large group or in the banking sector, for example, which was closer to my immediate family's background. But then once again, I was trying to make sense of all of this. And it was important for me to be driven by a clear purpose in a mission-driven company. And looking back, reflecting on the personal and professional growth since then, I think at the heart of a purposeful life, there is first the acceptance of one's own fragility and limits, followed by the energy to open up, effata. Because one feels incomplete, it triggers this need to continuously be hungry, to learn from others, to open up to the new relationships, to the unknown. It sets you on a journey to quench your thirst. And this could be a quest for meaning, it could be a thirst for continuous learning, and the desire for personal growth, and so on. I think what has been key in my career, and I've done pretty much a long way now in the nonprofit sector, it was this desire to make sense of what I was doing, the wish for personal growth and continuous learning. The subject of your seminar being transdisciplinarity, I can only reinforce the idea that it's extremely important to learn to build bridges across disciplines, across areas of expertise, across sectors. But first you need to be hungry and thirsty for knowledge and growth in order to look to push beyond your current situation, to seek for something more complete, to push beyond your comfort zone and to continue to grow. For example, while I was in Africa, I've lived a couple of years in Africa for Conservation International. Conservation International being a large environmental NGO. I was based out of Cape Town in South Africa with a continental scope. And I was Senior Director of Operations for the Africa Division. And that was a chance of a lifetime. That was also a time when it became very clear to me that I was living my dream career path. I was then in my late 30s. I was traveling throughout Africa, from Kenya to Liberia, from Madagascar to Equatorial Guinea. I went to Botswana, DRC, and I was overseeing the operation functions of a large environmental NGO. Back then, I had taken the risk of leaving a comfortable headquarters job I was having in Switzerland to live out this dream. Back then, and I completely went out of my professional scope, in my free time, I was, while I was in Africa, I was also advising a tech company. I was fundraising, advising the CEO on different aspects related to my skill sets. And hopefully this adventure will have great learnings, both professionally and personally. But my point here is that there's actually no creativity without curiosity and without taking risks. Between 2012 and 2016, I had decided to go out of my comfort zone to continue to grow professionally and personally. And at that time, it meant being in Africa with my environmental NGO. It meant choosing to advise a tech startup, and that once again was completely out of my professional scope. It was a time for choosing a growing family and so on. It was a professional and personal pivot time. And since then, I've pursued my career in the environmental sector by joining IUCN headquarters in 2016, 5 years ago. When I take the time to reflect a bit, I think that at the start of all creative processes, there's first a thirst, being avoir soif, that sets you on a quest to push beyond your limits. And I believe there are three main learnings from these creative processes, which are, one, the importance of a vision or making sense of, the importance of an anchor or remembering what your roots are, and the importance of resilience or the fact of keeping faith. And I'll go into further details and I'll try to illustrate this with something from my experience. So first, the importance of a vision or making sense. I think I've come to realize pretty soon how important it is to have a fil rouge, a red thread, basically a narrative by which you can pitch your life goal. A few words, a short, a longer sentence, something that actually describes the vision you hold for your life. The one I have in mind for myself is around service to people, society, and nature. For me, my personal commitment joins up the professional career. It focuses as a service to people, society, and nature. That's why I'm at IUCN. That's what I'm doing, what I'm doing. And the key underlying concept of my choices was basically to serve and to help grow. When I was in ESSEC, my red thread was still in draft mode, but it's over the years with experience, iteration, that I started seeing my desire underlying my career and engagement in a clearer way. It became clear once I had taken the decision of my career switch in the nonprofit sector. It became even clearer when I took the risk of leaving my country and comfort zone for a mission in Africa. And since then, it's been a feeling of synchronicity, hence a mindset of being in synchronization between what I desire deep inside, what I know what to do, my senior finance job as a team leader, and the mission of my organization, which is environmental conservation with IUCN. So think about it. What is your red thread? Second is the importance of the anchor, or remembering your roots. While I feel this synchronicity, life usually never spares you of storms and turbulences. This could be professionally related. It could be more personal due to life circumstances. It's normal. It's part of the growth process. In these storms, it's actually absolutely crucial to hold on to your vision or narrative so that you don't depart from the goal you set yourself to. It's a bit like a quest in adversity or holding grounds. And in the storm, it's very important to know where your anchor and your roots are. So what keeps you holding? What keeps you going? For me, it was my kids, mostly. I knew I had to be strong for them. I knew I had to commit to participating in constructing a better world for them, knowing I had to take care of them, educate them, feed them, help them grow. And sometimes it's very important to just go back to the basics and know what your fundamentals are. So in other words, we could call this the cornerstone, or like we say in French, the pierre angulaire, the single construction piece of stone that makes the whole construction remain solid. So remember to ask yourself, what is your red thread and what is your cornerstone? Thirdly and finally, the importance of resilience or keeping faith. On top of holding to your anchor, it's very important to build up your resilience. Keep your mindset on your vision, hold on to your anchor and roots, develop your resilience and faith in your purpose. Being resilient, hence being adaptable to all new challenges, positive or negative, while continuing your growth process. Being resilient keeps you in an open mind that there's always a possibility of better days ahead. The life continues to make you grow, and that you can still remain creative and relevant while contributing, even in adversity. And sometimes it means very simple things. For me, it was, that life is purposeful, that there's always a silver lining in all difficult situation, that there's always someone counting on you and who you can count along, because remember this, no one ever succeeds alone. A lonely manager is a manager in danger. So why not you? I mean, at this stage, you've made the first great step of achieving to join ESSEC Grande École. And once again, this is an open door for opportunities for growth. You'll meet amazing people, whether students, academics, teachers. You'll make new lifetime friends and a valuable network within our community. You'll grow in a stimulating academic environment and perhaps take part in multiple initiatives alongside your studies. And I really wish you to have a meaningful time in ESSEC. Take the most out of it, to choose to grow and to be enlightened. This academic environment you're in today is the laboratory of your future as leaders and statesmen. Take the most out of it, because time really flies fast. It's also, and take the time to reflect on your red thread and your cornerstone, especially if you want to engage in a purposeful commitment. Think about the impact. In a few key words, I believe that the values of humility, gratefulness, empathy are key to a meaningful career, and that at the heart of any change, there is first a strong desire to grow while accepting one's own limits. And one last thing, which was actually very important in my own experience, remember to see and do beautiful things together. Thank you. Thank you. Back to you, Xavier.
Thank you so much, Patrick. To be honest with you, I just got a couple of remarks and comments from the students that was very inspiring, very clear, very inspiring and structure with a different point. That's very insightful. We really enjoy. Thank you very much, Patrick, for being with us. Stay with us because we need you to give the first prize to the students. So stay with us, please. And again, thank you very much, Patrick.